Hello, I'm Dan, the editor of War Games Illustrated magazine. Now, in this issue of the magazine, which is November 2025, we give away a free supplement, Assassins and Templars, a ruckus game. It is a complete set of rules based on or influenced by this book here by Steve Tibble, Assassins and Templars, A Battle in Myth and Blood. There's loads of more information all about this release on our website. What I wanted to show you today and on the hobby table is how to put together an Assassin's Retinue. So there's two retinues required for the game, Templars and Assassins. On the back of this here magazine, you'll see an advert for Gripping Beast selling ready-made retinues. So our friends at Gripping Beast have put together a set of Templars, which is pretty straightforward. When you get that in the set, you'll have a lot of metal figures that all don't need any construction. When it comes to the Assassins, what you get in the Assassins set is 3 frames of figures. So I've put those together here, showing you how you construct your cultist fighters, your cultist shooters, and your assassin novices, and a couple of mounted heroes as well. We're now going to go back in time and I'm going to show you how to put together this retinue using all of this plastic. Okay, so hi, at the hobby table I've got the 3 frames that we're going to be using to make up most of the figures in the Assassin's Retinue. So with the ready-made retinue set, you get these, you get 2 infantry sprues and 1 cavalry. In addition to the plastic, you're also going to get this figure here who you can use as your main hero, the captain in the retinue. So he's a metal figure, it doesn't come painted unfortunately, and this one's painted very nicely, but you get a mounted and dismounted version. You also get an Iman as well, which is sort of the 13th figure in the retinue. You don't have to have him in your retinue, but he's nice to have. And then you also get the Assassin hero figures, specifically for Assassins and Templars. They come in that pack there, and when they're painted up, they look lovely, like these 2 figures here. But putting all the metals to the side, because we're not focusing too much on those, we're focusing on the plastics. Here's a set I made earlier. I'm now going to talk you through how I went about creating these figures, making the figures for the retinue, using these 3 frames. So let's start with the first figure in the retinue, who is a Fidace novice, the first of 3 Fidace novices. So there's the first of my 3 Fidace novices. Fidace novices are armed with a hand weapon. I've gone for the head that is swathed in a scarf, which I think that looks quite cool for an assassin. I've used parts from 2 different frames there, taking pieces from the headpiece and from this frame here and one of the arms, and the body piece from this frame here and another one of the arms. So let's put him to one side and we'll get on with Fidace novice number 2. So there is Fidace novice number 2. As you can see, I'm being pretty slapdash with both my trimming and my sticking. I could do much better, and they do really need a bit more cleaning up than what I've given them, but I'm trying to knock these out quite fast just so you can see the finished result. So again, Fidace novice is armed with a hand weapon and nothing else much, apart from this one's got a dagger as well, which is quite normal for all the assassins. So we'll put him to one side, Fidace novice number 2, and we'll crack on with number 3. Incidentally, you will have noticed with number 2 that I did use an element from the cavalry frame as well. That's what we have to do to create the 12 members of the retinue. You have to use components from both the infantry frame and the cavalry frame as well. So we're moving on to number 3 now, and you'll see straight away that I'm using again a component part from the cavalry frame, which is the arm here holding the sword. So I'll trim that off. So this is for number 3, and I will then revert back to the infantry frame to get more parts for Fidace novice number 3. So I will crack on with him. So there we have the third and final Fidelis Novice in a spear of Fidelis Novices, as we call them in Assassins and Templars. You get 3, and he is number 3, and he goes with these two fellas here to make up your Assassins and Templars Fidelis Novices. I used component parts from all 3 different frames here. I used swords from the cavalry frame, and everything else came from the 2 infantry frames, and that's still going to leave us with plenty to construct the other models that are required for your retinue. I'm now going to move on to the next 3 members of the retinue, who are cultists. Now, you can have cultist shooters or cultist fighters. I'm going to put together some cultist fighters, so they're going to be armed with a spear and shield. So off I go. There he is, the first of my 3 cultist fighters. So he's armed with a spear and shield. I will now get on with the next one. Here goes. Here's the second of my cultist fighters. The eagle-eyed amongst you will have noticed that actually I cut off an extra arm that I didn't need, because some of the models on the frame have integrated arms and some have no arms, so you need to put both on. I was thinking initially that I needed to put both arms on, but I don't. I just needed to put one arm on. So again, he is armed with a spear and a shield. I'm now going to move on to the next one, number 6. So here I'm going to cut off a head from this frame and also a shield from this frame as well before I move on to the next frame. There's one more piece off this frame that I've already pre-labelled, which is the spear and arm. And then I'm going to move on to the other frame where I've got the body and the torso on here. So I will now stick these together to make the last of my assassin cultist fighters. Right, so the third and final assassin cultist fighter there, so he goes along with those 2 fellas to form a spear of 3. Of course, in the game you can actually mix the 3 up within a spear, so you can have novice assassin with 2 cultist fighters and so on, but we're going to, as we're just concentrating on putting them together, I'll stick with keeping it simple, and they'll form a spear of 3 assassin cultist fighters. So there are other component parts on here if you want your assassin cultists to be shooters, but we'll come back to that point in a minute, because we have got bows and arrows on there if that's what you want to do. In fact, let's chat about that now, because I'm just going to point out that on this infantry frame there's a couple of bows and arrows there for you to use if you want to make these shooters. There's also on the cavalry frame 3 bows and arrows there if you want to make the cultist shooters, so that's an option that you've got. We're now going to move on to putting together some shooters. There we have cultist shootist number 1, first of 3 component parts entirely from the infantry frame there, and we will get on with the second one. That's the second, so the second of 3 that we're going to put together. There is the third and final cultist shootist. So he joins his mates here to make a spear of 3 shooters or shootists, and that together with the assassin novices and the fighter cultists, that's pretty much the whole of the retainers in the retinue, the Assassins and Templars retinue, assassin retinue. So you've got a spare body there, you've got different heads, so we could have used any of these different heads. We've also got arms if you actually want to put together more fighters. We've got more shields. Let's put those to one side because we've got what we need. We've just got a few extras as well. Now we're going to put together 2 of the Fidelis, the one below the captain assassin. So for this we're going to mount them. Now we don't have to mount them, And in the pack of the Assassin heroes, you could use these two here as your infantry heroes, which become, when painted up, these two fellas here. So they look great if you want to have them on as infantry figures, but if you'd like to have them mounted as cavalry figures, we're going to create that now. We're going to make these two figures here basically using this frame. We've got 3 horses on here, we only need 2 of them, but pick whichever horse you like. This is horse number 3. It comes in 2 parts so you know what you're putting together. That's 1 horse. Let's go straight on to the next horse and we will put together horse number 1. They're the 2 horses that we're going to use for our Fides heroes when mounted. So I now need to cut off the component parts to make the men themselves. So there we have 2 Fides heroes mounted. So the Fides heroes have quite a range of different weapons that they can use in the game. This one has got a lance, this one has got a bow, and both of those things can be used in the game depending on what you want to arm yours with. And they, along with this guy that you get in the set, a metal figure of a Fides hero captain, or rather a Fides Sheikh as he's known in the game. So he's the captain and there are his 2 understudies, and then we also have these fellas that make up the rest of the retinue. Assassin novices, and then we've got the fighters and the shooters. So if we put all these together, we've got the heroes at the top here, the mounted versions and the foot versions, and we've got the captain, the mounted version and the foot version, and then also in the set you get the Eman as well. So you get everything there, and as I pointed out earlier, you've also got quite a lot of spare parts on the frame as well, so you can make up other figures should you want to, if you want to expand your retinue. There you go, that's how you put together a retinue, an Assassin's retinue for Assassins and Templars using the component parts of the Gripping Beast ready-made retinue set.